Greetings from our Temecula studios. I'm Ryder Bullock. Welcome to a special edition of the Hardwood Report. I'm Ryder Bullock as we wrap up day 2 of the NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. And now the first round is officially in the books. 32 games have been complete and 32 teams remain. And let me tell you something right off the top. This wasn't chaos, but it was clarity, because now you can see it. Now you can see who's real. Now you can see who's got flaws. And now you can see who's just not built for the second weekend. Let's start where we have to start, and that is with UConn. And this is very simple. They didn't even play their best game, and they still controlled everything. That mattered. Terrace Reed Jr., 31 points, 27 rebounds. That's not just a big game. That's one of the most dominant performances you'll see in this tournament. They didn't shoot it well. They turned it over quite a bit, and Furman still couldn't do anything about it. That's what makes UConn dangerous. Now, they get UCLA, and here's the bottom line. If UCLA doesn't score and score efficiently, this game is going to get away from them in a hurry. Now, Florida. There's not a lot to break down here, 114-55. That's not analysis. That is a mismatch. 7 players in double figures. Total control from the opening tip. But here's the question, and it matters now. Can they do that against a team that slows the game down? Because Iowa will. And if Florida can't impose pace, that becomes a very different game. Now, Purdue. This is what experience looks like in March. Brandon Smith running the show. How about that assist record? Fletcher Lawyer knocking down shots. No panic, no mistakes, no wasted possessions. They look like a team that expects to be playing next weekend. Now they get Miami, and I'll tell you this right now. If Purdue controls the tempo, Miami's going to have a very hard time staying in that game. Trust me on that. All right, now we get to the game of the next round, and that's Kansas and St. John's. And this is what the tournament is supposed to look like. You got Bill Self on one side. You got Rick Pitino, the Hall of Famer, on the other. That's not a second-round game. That's a marquee pop-the-popcorn Sunday matchup. Kansas looked dominant early, up 26 points, and then completely lost control late. That's a red flag. St. John's, they rebound everything, they defend everything, and they make you uncomfortable for 40 minutes, all day, every day. This game is going to come down to one word, and that's toughness. And I'll say it clearly, toughness. If Kansas doesn't execute late, they're going home. And I like St. John's in that matchup. Now let's talk about the teams that advanced but didn't exactly convince me. Miami got a good win. It was a tough win. But now Purdue, they don't have margin for error. They need Malik Renu to be the best player on the floor. They need their guards to match Purdue's possession for possession. That's asking a lot. UCLA, they survived. But surviving is not beating UConn. Too many empty possessions, too many stretches where the offense just disappeared. There wasn't any. And if that happens again, they won't be around much longer. Kentucky, let's be honest here. They needed a miracle. And Otiga Owe put up 35, hits a shot at the buzzer to force overtime. Great moment, but that doesn't carry over. It should not take Kentucky overtime to beat Santa Clara. I don't care who plays for him. But that doesn't carry over because I don't care who plays for him. I'll say it again. Now they get Iowa State, and that's a completely different level of opponent. That is not Santa Clara. And you don't want to take Iowa State to overtime because they will destroy you. Okay, let's talk about the teams flying under the radar. Arizona, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Size, depth, balance, they got it all. And here's the key. They're shooting better now than they have been all season. And if that continues, I hate to say this because my Sun Devil doesn't like to say it, the Wildcats could be a legitimate Final Four team. Wow. Iowa State's complete. They defend, they rebound, they have depth, and they don't rely on one player. That's dangerous in this tournament. Tennessee and Virginia. This is a clash of styles. Tennessee wants to be physical, control the glass, play downhill. Virginia wants a slow game. They want to slow it down. They want to shoot the threes. They want it all to be about Virginia. Virginia plays one game very well, and that is controlling the tempo. And it's very simple. Whoever dictates pace is going to win this game. Okay, let's wrap it up, and where we stand right now. The teams you trust: UConn, Florida, Purdue, Arizona. Teams I'm watching: St. John's, Iowa State, Tennessee. And the teams in trouble: UCLA, Miami, Kentucky. I think that's where we're at. A couple quick things before we go. I think UConn moves on. I like Purdue to move on. Florida's playing next weekend, and so is Arizona. And yes, St. John's takes out Kansas. Now, before we talk about tomorrow, I've done you a favor. I've reseeded the teams. Now, this obviously doesn't happen in the NCAA tournament, but I thought it would be fun to reseed the teams and kind of rank them 1 through 32. And that. So if we had to reseed the teams, who would be the overall number 1 seed? Well, I think it would be the Florida Gators. They were outstanding tonight. Xavier Lee and those 2 7-foot white boys they got playing for him. Whoa, doing big things here in March. And I think they were the better 1 seed. So I've got them number 1 overall seed, Florida. The second number 1 seed would be Michigan. Luxembourg doing big things. They've got a great matchup against St. Louis. Watch out for that St. Louis team. They dropped 102 on Georgia. And Michigan's first half against Howard was a lot like Duke's whole game against Siena. But Michigan figured it out, as Duke did not. And that's why Arizona is the third number 1 seed, and Duke is the 4th number 1 seed. You cannot play like you played against Siena against TCU. You will lose. Number 2 seeds, Purdue. Purdue against Queens, man, oh man, experience. And how about Braden Smith breaking that Bobby Hurley record that's been a record since the 80s, man. It's that's special. And I like this Purdue team. I got this Purdue team going deep into the Final Four. And you know, when you get Purdue in Indianapolis, it's going to be wild. Iowa State's my second number 1 seed. Then I got UConn and Houston. UConn did a lot against Furman. And probably the score makes it a lot closer than what it was. But UConn's final 4 minutes just was pure offensive execution. Got 3 straight offensive rebounds and really tied those loose ends in the final minutes. And then Houston just didn't do enough to wow me. I know Calvin Simpson wows people. He didn't wow me. And so I think he's vulnerable. 3 seeds, Illinois. Scoring over 100 against Penn yesterday. Gonzaga. Look, I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. This is not Mark Few's best team. This is not it. I don't think this Gonzaga team's going to go very far. But they are playing better than I thought. And that's why I've got them right there. I've got them ahead of Virginia and Michigan State. Tom Izzo is going to have to get it together. He played North Dakota State. But again, And they won by 20 or some points. But again, you got to tie up those loose ends. Anything, you cannot have questions on the 21st of March. You just cannot. And I've got a lot of questions about Michigan State. I don't have any questions about Nebraska, though. They're a contender. Arkansas, they're all right. Alabama's pretty nice. Kansas, I don't think Kansas beats St. John's on Sunday. There's just too much power there from Ejiofor. I don't think Kansas can stop it. I do have Kansas, so as a 4 seed, I have St. John's as the 5th seed, still ahead of Vanderbilt, and then Texas Tech, and then after them, Louisville. I want to talk about St. John's for a minute. They blew away Northern Iowa. That was not a game that was easy to watch. It was easy to watch if you're a St. John's fan, but I don't want to watch anybody just get beat up like that. Northern Iowa got beat up. Vanderbilt's playing great ball. Texas Tech is as well. Louisville against South Florida worried me a little bit yesterday because you can't allow a team to come back like that. I don't think you're going to continue to get that lucky there. So Louisville's got some loose ends to clean up. Tennessee's fine. UCLA, we talked about that. They'll need to clean that up. VCU, I still think is the upset of the tournament, just because the way they came back there. I mean, obviously High Point's special right now, but I think if you're looking at somebody to make a magical run, I think VCU's a little bit more favorable to do that than let's say High Point for example there, and that's why I've got VCU a 6 seed ahead of Kentucky, who should not needed overtime to defeat Santa Clara. You can't rely on one guy, Ogaway there, to give you the matchup. TCU, this highest 7 seed, they've got a tough Duke team who's got to figure a lot of stuff out. John Shire admitted that Zaina outcoached him, outplayed him. You let TCU outcoach and outplay you, you probably don't come back. You probably lose. And so Duke's going to have their hands full if they continue to play the way that they played yesterday. TCU, I wouldn't change anything. You took care of business against Ohio State. Take care of business tomorrow, you'll be fine. Texas, again, same kind of story, right? You defeat the top 5 draft pick, DeBonsa there, and I don't think it hurts DeBonsa at all. Now, there is question about, is he going to declare for the draft? Is he going to stay in the college? That's his decision. Apparently, it's his mama's decision, but either way, I think it's going to make a lot of NBA execs mad if he stays. But BYU, we will be talking about DeBonsa and BYU, just like we talk about Steph Curry and Davidson there. But one of those special players. So Texas, just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be fine there. Iowa played great. Miami against Missouri, that was one of the better games of the night. But Miami, I got a lot of questions about there. And then High Point, I knew High Point was going to beat Wisconsin because of the threes. They play tomorrow, and I think I don't have High Point in the Sweet 16. I know Seth Davis of CBS does. I'm looking at who they're playing, and I'm looking, and it's Arkansas. And Arkansas, their defense against Hawaii was a lot better than Wisconsin's, and so that's going to be an interesting matchup. 9:45 on TBS, but it's tough. I don't think High Point's going to be able to do it there. And then I've got A&M, St. Louis, and Utah State rounding out the teams there. So I think High Point is ESPN had them 32nd when ESPN ranked them. I have them 29th out of 32, but I don't think they'll beat Arkansas there. But take a look at tomorrow's games. Number 9, St. Louis. Number 1, Michigan. That's the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Midwest Region second round. That's at 12:10 on CBS. Then at 2:45 on CBS. Number 6, Louisville. Number 3, Michigan State in the East Region second round game there. And then the 5:15 game, TCU and Duke in the East Region second round matchup there. That's going to be a great game and easy to see. I'm interested to see what John Shire does. Is it a different Duke team? I think it will have to be to keep up there. But in that early slate, Michigan, St. Louis did drop 102 against Georgia, but if Michigan plays the way they played in the second half against Howard, nobody is stopping that team. And I've got Michigan State advancing against Louisville. So that will do it for us. We will see you tomorrow, noon Eastern time, 10 minutes before St. Louis and Michigan, getting you ready for the second round of the NCAA Men's Division I Basketball Tournament. 32 teams remain. Who's going to the Sweet 16? 8 teams. We'll find out tomorrow. We'll see you then.